we live in the world of ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these AI tools. I can ask them questions, but it's always better, which is why I love podcasting, is you can get right to the source. And you can ask the source, hey, this is what I think you need to be doing, or this is how I messed up.
Every company should be a media company. The people that are spending tens of thousands of dollars to be in the booth at the NRA, if they only spent a little bit into media, they could reach the same number of people, even more, perhaps more targeted.
The way that artificial intelligence is scraping the internet, like if you're not putting content out there, no one's going to find you. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of views, tens of thousands. You need to have content that answers the question for these answer engines like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini, so that they actually show up in the intent search.
He opened a barbecue restaurant in a strip mall during the Great Recession in 2008. Now that restaurant is a media company that reaches millions of people. Shawn didn't just survive, he turned his struggle into strategy. And his message is really important. It's don't run ads, run a show. Don't wait for attention and earn it one story at a time. From Navy bases to Snapdragon Stadium, and from San Diego to almost or more than 30 million screens. I'm sure that's even more now. And he's building something that most restaurant owners never imagine, which is influence. So Shawn, I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having me on the show. I believe deeply in podcasting. I believe deeply in community. So anybody that's listening or watching, I hope all of my struggles that I had learning how to share my story, I hope I can share them with your audience so that they can take something away and hopefully get a little bit uncomfortable. There's nothing comfortable about starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, making TikTok videos or Instagram, or even posting on LinkedIn. But I can tell you it is the greatest thing that has happened to me, to my business, and now the ability just to connect with like-minded people all over the world. It's something that I get fired up about every single time I talk about it.
I couldn't agree more. I was speaking to some friends yesterday. They said, I see your podcast is growing. Do you like it? And I said, well, if I didn't have to work, I probably would still be doing podcasting, because it's such an amazing opportunity to meet people like you and learn. And I'm a very curious guy. So it's like scratches that itch of curiosity. If we met at a restaurant and I asked you the questions I'm going to ask you, you probably think I'm an intense guy, whereas at podcasting, anything goes. So it's a wonderful medium.
Absolutely.
So let's start with your story, because I think that giving context to people who might not know you will be very beneficial. What story about work or money did you inherit growing up in your family?
So a story that I share frequently when I I speak frequently at restaurant shows, technology shows all throughout the country. And I always share what my grandfather taught me. I never met my father. I was raised by my Bulgarian grandfather and my Japanese grandmother. And my grandfather taught me to stay curious, to get involved, and to ask for help. These are lessons that it took me a long time to learn, and I still talk about them because every time I'm reminded how difficult they are. It's very easy for me to be curious. Anybody that's listening to this podcast is someone that's curious, somebody that watches a video, goes to a conference, reads a book. Curiosity drives business, but you have to do something with the curiosity. There's a lot of people that will consume a lot of podcasts or lots of books and not put the curiosity into action. So action is, what are you going to do with that curiosity? My curiosity led me to opening up a restaurant in 2008. I thought that it would be a great idea to take a liquor license, a full Type 47 license, and add it to a breakfast concept in a part of San Diego that most people don't know about. Even the people in Spring Valley, where our restaurant is located, didn't know that we would have a restaurant where we're located. So our backs were against the wall. And then finally, the third one is asking for help. You know, asking for help is something that I talk about frequently because I have to remind myself that as I build a media business, I need to ask for help from people that have built legacy media businesses, new content creators, new speakers, people with influence, people that do brand deals. I have to be willing to put myself in the arena and ask questions, be vulnerable, and say, hey, I don't have all the answers. We live in the world of ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these AI tools. I can ask them questions, but it's always better, which is why I love podcasting, is you can get right to the source. And you can ask the source, hey, this is what I think you need to be doing, or this is how I messed up. Because I can tell you, building a media business, 8 years we've been building a media company. 5 years I made no money. 5 years of investing my time, the restaurant money, into trying to build a media company that was a podcast, multiple podcasts. How do I get a brand deal? How do I get clients that actually want what we've provided for ourselves? How do I do that for other clients? How do I get people to build a community so they want to advertise on our podcast? All of that took 5 years. That's why I try to share those lessons for other podcasters to know, hey, every single company needs to be a media company. When I go to a trade show, the National Restaurant Show in Chicago, there's 2,200 vendors. So these are people that are spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, some cases millions of dollars to build a booth, a 10 by 10 booth, a 20 by 20 booth, to get in front of other business owners because they want to talk about their products or their services. You know that 90% of them have zero presence on social media? 90% of them. They have a terrible website. They do terrible marketing. They have no idea what a YouTube channel is. Their Instagram page is terrible. They have no presence on LinkedIn. Yet we're in a world in 2025 where the 10% that do believe in those channels, those ones are starting to reach much bigger audiences because, you know, even as big as the National Restaurant Show is in Chicago, there's 50,000 people, restaurant owners, that will go to that show. How many more restaurant owners are on the internet? Millions of decision makers that are on YouTube, that are listening to podcasts, that are on Instagram, that are looking for products and services on LinkedIn. So we're living through a crazy disconnect. I think a lot of people think that social media is something that businesses don't need to be doing, but it doesn't matter what your business is. If you're in real estate, if you're in insurance, if you're in the legal field, we have a sales tax automation software company that we make incredible content for. Who would think that sales tax automation would be something that anyone would care about? Well, when you go and you talk to a restaurant owner and you talk about the pain point of sales tax and you show the restaurant owner and all the things that they have to do and realize that this software, which costs $55 a month called Davo, automates the sales tax. Well, that's a story that a restaurant owner can resonate with. $55 is not a lot of money to automate your sales tax every single day. But you don't think about those things until you start making podcasts, until you start making videos, and you start realizing, like, you know, the B2B space, the B2C space, everything comes down to a story. Tell me a good story. I want to know the truth. You know, the mantra of our media company is be the show, not the commercial. And why? Because no one wants to watch a commercial. No one goes onto the internet. No one goes onto their TV. No one goes into their car and goes, play me a commercial. No, we want to hear a story. We want to be educated or we want to be entertained. Be the show. So whatever you're doing, if you're building a real estate portfolio, share what you're doing, share why you're doing it, share who you're doing it with, and then you'll start to build community, but it doesn't happen overnight. You know, 90% of podcasters publish one episode and then quit. 90%. And of those 90%, another 50% will quit before 10 episodes because it's hard work. And you don't see the metrics. You know, your friends are saying, hey, you know, I'm seeing the show growing. Congratulations. But I guarantee you how many of them have said, why are you doing a show? How is that leading to business? A lot of them are questioning you. They laugh at you.
Sure.
Who do you think you are? An influencer? You're like, no, I'm just chasing my curiosity. I believe in storytelling. I believe that more people are on the internet than are not on the internet. These are just facts, right?
I love it. And I really appreciate that last one, ask for help, and how you use AI AI is there like Google was there 20 years ago. You can Google anything. Now you can AI everything and ask AI anything. And if I saw a very funny meme, a sort of skit that the guy says, I want to start a shawarma spaghetti idea. And AI says, that's a great idea.
It's not.
People love shawarma and they love Italian. So why wouldn't they work together? This is a good combination. You know, it placates to your
desires.
And then it's like, do you want a business plan for this? And you're like, yes, give me a business. And then everything's like optimistic. Whereas if a restaurant owner would be like, hell no.
It's a terrible idea.
What are you doing? Don't mix these things. Stick to the basics and crush it.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. Humans have this ability, not only ability, we have the desire to share. So when someone asks us a question and says, hey, I need your help, we are excited to be able to say, look, if I had your resources, or if I was in your position or in your age or your situation, I would have done this differently this way or that way. And that could be the difference between making it and not. And you mentioned podcasting. I tried to do this podcast 4 times. I never did one episode. I bought the mic.
I laugh with empathy, but I know the story.
And it was only until I talked to someone who said, listen, this is how you do it. And this is like episode 107.
Amazing. You're in the top 1%. Over 100 episodes, you're in the top 1% of podcasters.
And to me, that's incredibly easy at the same time. Like it only took 100 reps to get to the 1%. I'm like, that's not hard. And I think that's what people
hard, but people overthink it because they overthink that like after 15 episodes, something significant is going to happen in my business. And it just doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Or they think after the third one, I need to book like this huge name or a celebrity. And then, and if you get a celebrity, I got a guy on here who sold his company for $1 billion.
Yep.
I was like, wow, this is a cool, really cool. Obviously it was incredible, but it didn't spike my views. It didn't change my life. You know, it just, the expectation to reality has to be met. And I like how you framed the word to be like, every company should be a media company, really. Yep. The people that are spending tens of thousands of dollars to be in the booth at the NRA, if they only spent a little bit into media, they could reach the same number of people, even more, perhaps more targeted.
More targeted, for sure.
And live forever. Once the NRA is done after those 3 days, I come from the restaurant business as well. My family has had a restaurant business for 40 years. So I've been to the NRA many times. Yep. And after eating all the pickles and all the stuff, they're not there anymore. Whereas if you produce media, it's going to live on the internet forever. Someone could look at it 10 years later and be like, oh, that's cool. These guys have an oven that makes sense for my business today, or a cash machine, or whatever it is.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the way that artificial intelligence is scraping the internet, like if you're not putting content out there, no one's going to find you. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of views, tens of thousands. You need to have content that answers the question for these answer engines like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini, so that they actually show up in the intent search. So when somebody is searching, now that video surfaces because no one else had the courage to make that specific of a video.
Yeah. What else do you think is limiting people to start a media company?
I think
other than fear.
I think the idea of a media company is intimidating. Ultimately, all it comes down to is storytelling. And I think, the more that I speak on stages, the more that I host podcasts and interview the best of the best storytellers, content creators, hospitality professionals, it comes down to human like we don't want to look stupid or sound stupid. And that's the problem, is like you have to do the hundreds of reps and the thousands of reps before you start to understand and have data that you can go back and go, well, these videos perform a lot better than these ones. My intuition was that this topic was going to do better than this topic, but these are the YouTube analytics. These are the Instagram analytics. This is the retention graph of somebody watched the video and all of a sudden they're dropping off at 10 seconds. Maybe I need to change the hook, or I need to bring a cold open into the podcast so that somebody's engaged of what is this person talking about and how is it going to affect me? Now that person's listening for longer, and they're listening for longer, so the algorithm pushes it to more viewers. And now you have more people finding that piece of content. But it comes down to people not wanting to look stupid or sound stupid. The number one human fear is public speaking. Right, and I would say the number one human fear in the modern world is speaking on the internet. People don't like how they look. They don't like how they sound. They are scared that they stutter. They're scared that they don't sound articulate. They see the content that they like on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Instagram, and they go, I want that video. Well, you're not going to make that video. The Mr. Beast had like thousands, tens of thousands of videos before he made the videos that he's making now. And like, that's true for anyone that's making, if you look at the greatest painters of all time, I love studying comedians. Comedians is one of my favorite. It's, the Chris Rocks, Jerry Seinfeld, you name the comedian. How many times do they tell the joke before they have the Netflix special? Hundreds, thousands.
Yeah, daily reps.
And they go to tiny little places. And they spend an hour, they spend 60 minutes telling all these jokes. And then they find the 7 minutes that the audience really liked, and they get rid of the other 53 minutes. And they take that 7 minutes and they go to the next audience and they tell the 7 minutes and then they add something else and they go, oh, here's another good 5 minutes. And now all of a sudden they're stitching together the best pieces, but they don't care how many people are laughing as they start to get data. As they get data, they get better. And now all of a sudden the craft of these jokes, by the time they're in the stadium, it's like, how did they get 60 minutes of this unbelievable material? Well, they've been working their ass off. Like when people look and they're like, Shawn, how did you get to interview Shaquille O'Neal on your restaurant influencer show? Like, I've been doing thousands of podcast episodes. It took me a lot of reps of interviewing very significant people and proving to them that I'm going to trust Shaquille O'Neal's story and the Big Chicken restaurant franchise story so that when he comes on, I can sit down with him for a half an hour and have a legitimate conversation that is great for the brand, is great for our publishing partner, is great for us, that people want to share and people want to listen to. And how does it happen? It doesn't happen overnight. That's the truth.
I 100% agree. And I sometimes tell people that it's good that people are not watching your videos.
Right? Yeah, it is good.
It's great.
Yeah.
Because you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
So who cares what you're putting out there? It's not like it would be incredible to make a mistake so big that you go viral.
Yeah.
And that would be like the best thing that could happen to you because then immediate success. But no one does that. So people will stutter. People will have bad lighting. People will not be able to speak confidently. They'll feel weird talking to a camera, and only your mom will watch it. Maybe.
Maybe.
My wife
doesn't even watch my video. We have too many videos. Like that was a long time ago. It's like the closest people. But to your point, the proof is doing the work, and it's doing the work. We say the content equation for somebody that's listening or watching. I'll share with you the equation that we share. And people want quality. They want a quality video or a quality podcast or a quality article before they hit publish on the internet. The only way to get to quality is through quantity, speed, and consistency. That's the equation. Quantity, speed, consistency over a long period of time will eventually equal quality. That's the only way to make quality. I share, when we first opened up our barbecue business in San Diego, people laughed at us. They go, you're not from Texas. You're not from, the Carolinas. You're not from Kansas City. What is someone in California doing making barbecue? I'm like, we're learning the craft of barbecue. Slow smoking meat, cooking, slow smoking it on our old hickory pits, cooking brisket 14 hours overnight, using the right spices, using the right rubs, picking the right meat. Well, in the beginning, we made bad brisket. 2008, it was bad. We didn't even put it on the menu, but eventually we put it on the menu. And then the next year we got a little bit better. And the next year, the next shift, we got a little bit better. And now 18 years later, the brisket that we're putting out is much better than we put out last year or 10 years ago. It's like, it just takes time. And it's the same thing with podcasting. It's the same thing with making videos. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. And, a lot of it comes down to, what we just talked about. It's fear. It's fear and ego, honestly. People don't want to be made fun of.
That's 100% true. And so I'm sure you look back at the brisket 10 years ago and say, what the hell were we doing? Like you get so good at one point that you think it's embarrassing what we were doing before. But at the same time, you think, no, I had to go through that or else I wouldn't get here. And then when people say, I can compete with you, you're like, sure.
Yeah.
You're very far away from me.
Nothing. So we have on our Cali barbecue media channels, our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, TikTok, Instagram. We have some videos that have over millions of views. So we do skits, but we also do a lot of barbecue prep. And a reason why a lot of those videos go viral is because there's people on the internet that are from the barbecue meccas saying, you guys have no idea what you're doing. You're idiots. No one knows how to, we don't wrap our ribs and make our pork ribs that way. We don't cook our brisket that way. You don't know what you're doing. You're from, fine. You know how to open up a barbecue business? You know how to stay open for 18 years in California through a pandemic? Go ahead, open up a business if you're so smart, but we don't care. The problem is most people are like, oh, I don't want to make a video or post a video about our kitchen because I'm embarrassed about the kitchen, or what if somebody sees something out of place? Who cares? It's actually better for the algorithm to reach more people, because eventually you're going to reach the people that go, wow, I didn't know that you can get great barbecue in San Diego. I live 20 minutes away. Let's go try that this weekend.
For sure. Let's go to when you started Cali Barbecue in 2008. Financial crisis is there. What internal belief carried you through that moment? And when did it shift that every business should be a media company and you felt that, okay, I need to add this level of complexity, let's call it, to Cali barbecue?
So I think, inherently, I watched my grandfather grow up. I helped him write his life story, how a Bulgarian farm boy grew wealthy in La Jolla, California. Helping him write that book, we went to the village where he was born, understanding that, he got rejected from all the medical schools in Bulgaria. He had to learn German in order to get into German medical school. He had so much hardship in his life, yet he still became a real estate developer, opened up, multiple businesses after his medical career. So he taught me that inherent belief of like hard work and believing in yourself, and no matter what, you're going to continue to do it, and no matter what people say, and you're going to figure out the answer. But as we opened, I thought, if you build it, they will come. There's a movie called The Field of Dreams. It's a baseball movie with Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones. And the promise that I believe a lot of entrepreneurs believe is like, if you build it, they will come. Like, no one's coming. No one's going to come to save your business. Doesn't matter how great your product is, how great your service, people need to know about it. And if they don't know about it, you're going to put yourself at serious risk of going out of business. And we were at serious risk in 2008 when we opened up the restaurant at going out of business. And that was right when Web 2.0 happened. 2007 is when the first iPhone came out. So all of these tools, Yelp, Google, Facebook, eventually Instagram, all of these things started happening where a light bulb went off and I was like, I thought Facebook was just a joke. Like, I didn't think social media was a place that I could go as a business owner to post content as a marketing tool to get people to come into our restaurant. But when we were failing and when we couldn't make our payroll, I was like, I'll do anything. I'll do anything and everything to get people to know about our restaurant. So I went on Facebook, I went on Yelp, I went on Google, I learned about websites, I learned about, SEO. I learned about all these things that a lot of restaurant owners still to this day aren't on social media. They don't have an optimized website. They don't have a good Google business profile. Like, they're not doing the things to let people know and let the internet know that they're there. So that was the beginning of the journey. Once we learned how to better tell our story of who we are, I think another reason why people don't do it is imposter syndrome. I am not the chef at the restaurant. I'm not the pit master. I'm the restaurant owner. So I have a pit master who we've learned from, who's taught us the secrets of how to cook the right barbecue. I remember in the beginning, once we started getting, posting on social media, eventually getting local news to pay attention to us, I remember them asking, Shawn, will you come in and talk about your barbecue? And I was terrified to go on camera to talk about our barbecue because I'm not the expert about barbecue. So I would have Gene go on camera to talk about the barbecue. They cared less about the technicalities of the barbecue more than they cared about the story. They wanted to know, Shawn, why did you open up the restaurant? Why are you putting on a barbecue festival? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? And that was when I started to gain confidence and started to realize how important storytelling was. I also realized it wasn't only about me. The more that I got other people, like my wife on camera, my general manager, Eric, on camera, Steven, our catering manager, the more I realized more people are starting to watch our restaurant, not just in our local market. There's other restaurant owners in Texas, in Chicago, in Las Vegas that are following us on Instagram, that are following us on Facebook, because they want inspirational stories of like, how are we doing it? We're all trying to figure this out. Nobody has this thing figured out. I mean, we're all trying to figure out what Facebook is, and then Instagram comes along, and then you're trying to figure out what Instagram is, and then, you're like, oh, I have to post on LinkedIn, and then next thing you know, you're like, we're podcasting, and now, YouTube's important because people are watching, they're cutting the cords, and people are watching YouTube content on TVs. And then artificial intelligence comes up. It's like, there's always something. It's just a never ending bombardment of things that you have to learn. But we break it down to the simple terms. It's audio, it's video, it's words, and it's images. It's just storytelling. We don't care about the platform. All we care about is especially video, because video gives you audio. Video gives you written words through a transcript. Video can give you a photo. If you can learn video, short form video and long form video, you can do, and you can create once and you can distribute it on all those different platforms. And those are things that, we hope that this audience is inspired. Whatever your platform is, if you're listening to this, if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, whichever platform you feel most comfortable with, I challenge you to make a 60-second video, your first video ever, and tell people who you are and what you believe in. Not what you do, but what you believe in and what you're building. Like, what are you building and why are you building it? 60 seconds and post that on Facebook or post it on LinkedIn. That's the challenge. The real people, which are only going to be 5%, will actually make 5 posts. The other people are the ones that are going to do 100, like you. Somebody told you to start a podcast. It took you a while, but now you're at a place where you have the authority to tell other people that are interested in podcasting, interested in storytelling, hey, what have you learned? I mean, what have you learned in 100 episodes?
I've learned that I would do it if I had all the money in the world. This is what I would be doing. So it's sort of like purpose finding. I find that it's a lot easier than it looks. The first day that you start, you think, what about this? What about that? What about this? And then you start thinking, the imposter syndrome goes away, right? I used to think I'm not a podcaster, something else, but I'm like, no, I'm just a human being. I'm in front of another human being and they're telling me this incredible story. And then I go to my wife or to my family. I'm like, hey, I met this guy. He does this. He does that. He did this. He does. I have the best like stories to tell. And then I can't wait for the next one. You know, I'm like, and I don't care about the metrics anymore. I don't care about the views. I'm like grateful if there's one view.
Correct.
If there's one view, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
If there's a million, it's almost like it feels like, okay, let's get it again. It feels like a challenge. Like now you got the million, now let's do it again. And it's really opened a lot of doors in my business as well, because before nobody knew who you are. Nobody knows who you are. Like if you don't do that 60-second video of, hey, I'm Ahmad, I'm half a Persian, half Ecuadorian, I come from a immigrant family. I sold my business. That gave me the money to invest, and I invest into real estate. And then I was so good at it that other people wanted to invest with me. And that's how I built my company. People are like, wow, on your website, it doesn't say that, or I didn't read it. It was like, yes, it's there, but you don't, you don't get it like that. And then you don't connect with me like that. And so now I think it's giving me the confidence and opening doors and just, now I'm talking to you. It's incredible. It's just a never gift that keeps on giving.
I couldn't agree more.
Let's shift a little bit on how you think, especially about like money, risk, perhaps reputation, because I think this is a interesting, different aspect of what you do and how you make decisions post having a media company, taking it from barbecue to media, and then now doing it for other people. What was perhaps something irrational or an irrational investment that you did, but taught you something that you still use today?
I mean, the irrational 100% is the media company. I mean, the fact that my wife stuck by me while I chased this crazy idea of not just starting a podcast and putting other business owners and marketers and storytellers and technology professionals on a show that the restaurant was paying for, which ultimately we were paying for, where there was no direct ROI. Like there's no ROI of me interviewing another restaurant owner about their businesses and the technology that they use to run their restaurant. Like no one's listening to that and go, oh, I've never, like a podcast listener is in the B2B space. It's not B2C. Like I wasn't running that's part of the misnomer of Cali Barbecue Media. When people see, oh, you do barbecue media, like you make videos about barbecue. I understand that. Like, no, actually we make videos about business. We make videos about technology, and we make videos about storytelling. It actually has almost nothing to do with barbecue outside of the fact that we built a media company on top of our barbecue restaurant. So the investment and the 5 years of knowing in my soul that this is how humans communicate. We communicate on the internet, and the internet is changing. And if I can tell really good stories that I want to watch and I want to listen to, I can build a community of other restaurant owners who are looking for the same thing. We're all using the same tools, whether it's Slack channels or WhatsApp or text messages. And if you see a good video or you hear some good information or you read a good email that has actually adding value and you forward that or you save it or you share it, that's the kind of content that we want to make. So if we make that content, if we get really good at it, which is going to take a long time and costs a lot of money. But once we figure out how to do it, now we can do it for other companies. And then we can partner with other companies that have much bigger distribution than we do, companies like Entrepreneur, where they're looking for creators that have a gift for getting restaurant owners to share their secrets. Because that's something that not just for restaurant audience, but an entrepreneur audience, a business owner audience, that they can benefit from. That by far was the biggest, riskiest investment that even now to this day, I wish I could go back and say, lean in harder. I wish I could go back and tell myself, Shawn, go more. because it took me 5 years to have so much conviction of like, are we opening up more restaurants or are we expanding the media company? And like, I love our restaurant. I love the restaurant business. But I can tell you unequivocally that the more scalable business is the media business. More scalable, more profitable, more impactful. I can still have my team run the restaurants and we can still be in the restaurant business. But I know traveling with my wife this summer, my family's from Bulgaria. So every summer we go for 6 weeks to my wife's village, which is Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria. 2 hours north of Sofia in the mountains is a city called Vratsa. Her family's in a village out there. And my kids, my 8-year-old boy, my 6-year-old girl, they're fluent now in Bulgarian and they get to spend time with Baba and Dedo, grandma and grandpa, and the aunts and the uncles, and they get to learn the culture. I get to do that not because I'm a restaurant owner, because I'm a media owner. Because I'm a media owner, I have access to the internet and I can record podcasts. I can take client calls. I can do all of those things from the other side of the world. And not only that, but then I go and I travel with my wife. First time we've ever gone without our children on vacation. We took 4 nights to Istanbul. We went to Istanbul and had the most magical experience, but I took my media business with me. I interviewed restaurant owners with my wife taking my iPhone and recording as my YouTube camera photographer. She's using the camera while I'm interviewing a Döner restaurant that's been in business since 1983. They only have one item on the menu, and that's a Döner. And it's the most incredible Döner. It's like this restaurant is named by David Chang as one of his favorite restaurants in the world. And I had a personal guide that took me there, and we did a YouTube video about all the best Döners. After that, we went to a baklava business. That's 6th-generation baklava business. The best baklava in the world. And only because I have a media company am I able to not only capture it, but realize that I'm making connections in Istanbul with these business owners, that I've invited them when they and their families come to California or San Diego, they're going to come to our restaurant. Like, this is a global opportunity, but it's taken me so long to get there and connect all these dots where I'm like, this makes sense. This makes sense. And this is something I will do for the rest of my life.
Super inspirational. And I find that people that are going to hear this, they're going to lean in. I think I also tell them, I tell people all the time, be online, tell your story and be yourself. I think that that's my advice sometimes when people ask me, like, they're like, I don't like to dance. I'm like, I don't like to dance either. I'm not dancing on my videos.
I love to dance, but not for content.
Not for content, you know. And people are like, yeah, but are you like those influencers? I'm like, I'm not an influencer. That word has become, it doesn't make any sense anymore. Nobody knows what an influencer is. It's undefined. But if you really believe in yourself and you want to be like, have the experience that you've had, if you didn't have a media channel, you probably wouldn't be able to be in those places with those people making that connection.
I wouldn't.
You'd be another customer.
No, I know it without a shadow of a doubt. If I didn't do that trip as a media owner and content creator, I would have never met those businesses. But I was proactively reaching out, asking LinkedIn, asking Instagram, does anyone in my network know any restaurant owners in Istanbul? And that led to someone from US Foods who I work with, Ozzy, made an introduction to a friend that he had met, long lost friend. He literally had only gotten in touch with him a week prior to me making that post. He goes, meet my friend Jem. He's the director of culinary at this institution in Istanbul where they teach, the next generation of chefs in Istanbul. This guy took a whole day to take me and my wife to these restaurants. So like, I had an insider take me to these places only because I have a media company and because I have a channel. Yeah. That only happened because of this media dream.
Beautiful. You made a very important distinction before. You said, be the show, not the commercial. No one wants to watch the commercial. And I think that's incredibly important because most people think that they have to be a commercial. They have to do the 30-second ad that catches your attention, makes you buy. When did you figure this out? And how do you teach people or your clients that you have to be the show and not the...
So the story that I share frequently is being a father. So, when I had my son, I remember when he was a couple years old and him interacting with YouTube Kids for the first time. So I'm watching my son watch, a dinosaur cartoon on YouTube Kids. And while he's watching YouTube Kids, the first digital button that he learns how to hit, what do you think it is?
Skip.
Yes, skip. It wasn't play. It wasn't stop. It wasn't how to scroll. It was like he knew immediately that there was a commercial interrupting his story and he hit skip. And I'm like, that's it. It's not that I'm against advertisement. I'm just against bad advertisement. And most advertisement is salesy. It's not story driven. It's not compelling. So if a child and if an adult, and if no matter what your age is on the spectrum, if we don't go to watch commercials, why are we starting to become content creators, and why are we starting to tell our story with commercials? Don't start there. Start with the why. Simon Sinek. Like, I don't care what you do. Tell me, why do you do it? Like, why do you do it, and what are you working on? Like, what's getting you excited today? What are you working on today? What problem are you solving today that gets you excited? Because that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Love it. And it's so powerful. I really think that I already make content, but if I didn't make content and heard this, I would be like, I need to be online, and I don't not need to be the advertising. I need to be the show. And then what about the people that say, well, I have nothing to say, or I don't have a show, or why would anybody be interested in me? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, talk to yourself. Wherever you are today, think about who you were 3 years ago. What were you doing 3 years ago? Let's make the assumption that anyone that's listening or watching this, you've progressed. In 3 years, you're doing things further along in your career, or further along in your business, or further along in your investments, things that you've learned. You've learned things in the last 3 years. Well, what if you could make a video to yourself 3 years ago to compress that time? You've learned all those things. Hey, in the last 3 years, look at what I've learned. Here's my video in my 5-minute video. These are the things that I wish I did differently. These are the mistakes I made. These are the things that I would do more of. Make the video for yourself, because that's what people want. People want the cliff notes. As much as people want to read the book, they want to know, like, compress the time. That's valuable. Valuable things is like, how do you share, like, what did you mess up? And if you share how you messed up, people resonate with it.
And I also think that there's like you're not everybody's friend. Not everybody's going to like you. There's chemistry with certain people. There's chemistry with others. And it's the same thing online. You might be the most dull, boring,
Yes,
like flat voiced person in the world, and there will be an audience for you.
100%.
There'll be somebody be like, finally, someone that doesn't use hype.
Exactly right. No, you're 100% right. You're 100%.
So,
And it doesn't matter if you're an accountant. It doesn't matter if you're, an attorney. Like, wherever you fall on the spectrum, there are people that will resonate with who you are and why you are, because you have the courage to do it.
yeah,
Most people don't have the courage to do it.
for sure. What are the non-negotiables when you're building trust online?
The truth. My media mentor, David Meltzer, one of the quotes that I share all the time is, the truth vibrates the fastest. We all know bullshit. We have all been to conferences. We've all been online where somebody's, selling you a book of goods. No one wants to hear that crap. Like, I'll take a trade show for perfect examples. Like, trade shows tried to do programmatic, where we're going to have a sponsored session and we're going to have all these questions that we're going to ask ahead of time. There's never once have I gone to a panel and been like, oh my God, like, they prepared so well for this panel and they put up so many good slides. Bullshit. Tell me some truth. Like, I want somebody that gets the microphone and goes, hey, I fucked this up. I did a terrible job when I opened up my restaurant. Please don't open up ghost kitchens. I thought that opening up ghost kitchens was going to be the next thing during the pandemic. I opened up 3 ghost kitchens and we closed them all. My thesis was wrong. I failed. Please don't make that same mistake. Now, all of a sudden, I've gotten a lot more credibility than, hey, I've run 3 restaurants in San Diego for 18 years. Well, bullshit. I've also closed 3 restaurants. That's the truth. And if I'm more truthful and I lean in on the truth and I share all those pain points and I share that I was terrified to be on camera when I first started, I was stuttering. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like how our brisket looked on TV. All of those things are all true. I was worried. How was it going to look on Facebook? How was it, like, what were people going to say? People don't care. That's the craziest thing. People care about themselves. We're spending all this time and effort worried about what other people are going to think, and they don't even care. Just publish the video.
Exactly. What has been perhaps a surprise of helping other restaurant owners tell their stories or become creators that you thought was going to be harder, but actually once you started, you're like, whoa, it's harder in a different place, but this is surprisingly really good.
I think building community. I think that's probably one of the most difficult things, most surprising things, and most rewarding things, is understanding that, like, it has nothing to do with me. Once I realized, it's not about me interviewing Shaquille O'Neal or having a show on Entrepreneur or doing deals with Google or Uber or Amazon or Walmart, which are all things that we've done. It has nothing to do with that. When I inspire another restaurant owner to start a podcast and they start podcasting and they get their first brand deal where they're getting $5,000 every quarter to do something that they love to do, that's helping them build community in their own location, like, for me, that's extremely powerful. When they get invited to a customer advisory board because they're out there telling stories the same way that I'm telling stories, that's extremely powerful.
I love it. And I agree with you. Community is elusive, perhaps. You're like, how do you even start a community? What is a community? But once you get it, and even if it starts with a community of one, just impacting them is so rewarding. And I can see that 100%. Now that you're going to the NRA, you still go and you're a speaker there. What's a story that or stat that you always share that surprises people at the show?
I mean, I think just the size of the show, the size and the magnitude of the show is extremely impressive. The fact that it's the Super Bowl of restaurant shows, 2,200 vendors. I say that and most people don't understand how big that is. And we try to create videos of like, there's multiple convention. It's like 4 different conventions all happening at the same time. And you literally can't see everything. I've been going for 5 years and I still have gotten to places where I haven't even gotten to that section of the show. What's surprising too is that the other part is that people are starting to understand that podcasting and content matters. When we first went 5 years ago and I brought my media team, I had, 2 camera guys and, one audio guy and, Aaron and Michon and Brandon, they were filming and we were doing podcasts. We were the only ones doing podcasts and creating content at the show. The next year, there was a couple others. The next year, there was more. This last year, we partnered with Informa, who puts on the show, and they created an entire podcast studio for podcasters and creators to use the studio to create content. And we had probably 12 different podcasters just that I know that used our space, used our team, and produced shows that we're still putting out from the show. That's exciting for me. It's like I look at what the Super Bowl did, and Super Bowl in the beginning, there was no radio station. It's called Radio Row. Like, for people that understand, like the NFL Super Bowl started with Radio Row. There was one radio station that decided to go and cover the Super Bowl, and they couldn't even get a ticket to the event. So they had to broadcast the radio station across the street in a hotel. The next year, 2 different radio stations. Then eventually radio stations from every NFL market, eventually radio stations from other cities that don't have NFL teams. And now it's not only radio stations, it's TV stations, it's podcasters, it's YouTubers, and it's literally one of the biggest events on earth is the Super Bowl. Why? Because there's more people telling stories about the Super Bowl, not just the game itself, but what happens before the game, the parties, the storylines, all of the things. That's what makes it a big event.
I love it. And I had a stat about the NRA. I remember one time I went and they said that the size of McCormick is 8 jumbo jets lined up, like wing to wing. So it was like, kind of a way to show how big these huge conference centers are. What about this might be like a weird question, but you know how there's online fatigue, phone fatigue. People are saying you should be off your phone. You should not have so much time online and you're constantly scrolling. How do you feel, or how is it for you, and how do you manage that balance? Is it a balance, or how do you manage the fatigue that comes from being constantly online?
I mean, for me, it's easy. It's so like, there's a lot of people that say, this is my work life and this is my personal life. I don't have a work life I just have one life. So you get Shawn, the restaurant owner, you get Shawn, the content creator, you get Shawn, the media owner, you get Shawn, the father, you get Shawn, the husband, you get Shawn that's in Bulgaria, you get Shawn that's traveling to Istanbul. Like, I just treat storytelling, and I call it smartphone storytelling. That's what we teach people, is that you don't need a media team to become a media company. You have a media team in your pocket. It's literally called an iPhone or an Android. You can publish directly from here. You can go live from these platforms. All of this stuff is free. If you have internet access, if you have a smartphone, you're a media company. Hard stop. So
that's all you need.
The question is, how do you incorporate it into your daily life? Because you don't need to be Mr. Beast. You don't need to be, all of these YouTubers and TikTokers and Instagram. You just need to have a small community of people that believe in you and that care about you. And if you do that and you do it over time and you get better at doing it, you're going to have lots of opportunities. We're in the information economy. I don't care what job you have on earth. If you don't think that being concise on video and telling a story on video is going to help you tell a story in real life, you got it all mistaken. I guarantee you, if you start doing podcasts, if you start doing videos online, you start sharing your story, you start sharing your thoughts, you will do more business in real life because you're a better storyteller.
Absolutely. And I think this is something that even people could put on their resume. I know how to talk to a camera.
Yes.
You know, the first day you talk to a camera, you're like, this is so weird. But after a while, you get so used to it that it's like a skill.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's something that you could put, you don't even have to say, I'm a master storyteller. You can say, I can talk to camera.
Yep.
I can do it.
Yep.
What's the most invisible part of your work, but is also the most important?
Curiosity, I think. Listening, understanding how one of my favorite sayings is ABCD, which is Danny Meyer, who's Union Square Hospitality. He wrote an incredible book called Setting the Table. He's one of the biggest leaders. I'm sure you know who Danny Meyer is. But he says ABCD is what he teaches his stuff. Always be collecting the dots so that you can always be connecting the dots. By being curious, you're asking a lot of questions of a lot of different people, getting a lot of different touch points. Once you start asking those questions, once we start to build our media company and we have 23 different best-in-class restaurant technology companies that we do content for, that go to trade shows, that we do YouTube videos for, that we do podcasts for, guess what? I learn a lot of things. And by learning a lot of things, I can connect a lot of dots and make a lot of introductions for people. That's the true work that will truly help their business. Where instead of just getting one restaurant to buy their software, I'm introducing them to a different platform that services 20,000 restaurants, and they integrate together. And then all of a sudden they start telling stories together. Now they have a base of 20,000 people that already believe in one technology that they can just turn on and have a complementary product.
Amazing. Amazing. Shawn, it's been amazing to have you here. Honestly, inspirational. Your story is real, it's raw. And like you said, I do believe it's you, the father, it's you, the husband, it's you, the restaurateur, it's you, the media guy. You are genuine. And I think I'm inspired. So I'm very glad that you're here and told your story and showed how through media, everybody is a media, whether you want it or not, whether you publish or not, you have a personal brand and it's your responsibility. Last question though, what belief did you have to let go in order to become who you are today?
I think the idea, the belief that someone had to care. I'm always looking for I think it comes down to not knowing my father, of knowing that, Shawn, you did a good job. Like I've always seeked like, Shawn, you did a good job, or Shawn, you're successful. That belief I had to get rid of because no one gives a shit. It doesn't matter if I've interviewed billionaires, I've interviewed the biggest celebrities, I've interviewed people that are no one gives a shit. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like none of that matters. What matters is the relationships that you have and understanding that, you know, when I die, whenever that is, I know that there will be people that will miss me. And I think that's not just my family, but people and relationships that I've built doing the things that I'm doing. For me, that belief of getting rid of the bullshit superficial, hey, Shawn, you did a good job. Shawn, that's impressive. None of that's impressive. What's impressive is this, you know, you and I now that's why I do this podcast. Whenever you come to San Diego, you're a friend for life.
I will eat your brisket. I will go to
100%.
brisket.
You will come and we'll make a video at the smoker. I'll put you to work.
I will love it. I'm amateur barbecuer, but I love meat, and my wife is Texan, so when she'll hear that there's brisket, she'll be like, "We're not going anywhere else."
Perfect. Well, I can't wait to see you in San Diego. And that goes for anybody. If you're still listening, if you're still watching, you're part of the community. You're part of this tribe. This is why we do the work that we do. If you make it to San Diego, please reach out to me. Instagram's the easiest, at Shawn P. Walchef, ShawnPualchef. I post Instagram stories every single day where I am building in public. But yeah, please reach out to me if you make it to San Diego. I'd love to show you around.
For sure. And I'll be the first one.
Awesome. Deal.
Thank you again for coming.
Appreciate it.